Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Loose Wheels, the auto racing podcast of the Kennebec Journal and the Morning Sentinel. I'm Travis Barrett. I am the auto racing writer at the aforementioned newspapers, and we're happy to have you along as every week. It's a big 4th of July edition. We're a day early, trying to get everybody out. I'm sure everybody's going to be out enjoying water somewhere over the next few days because it's been a scorcher here in central Maine, but we kind of got a little bit of a Champions edition for you here this week. We've got TJ Brackett, a two-time Oxford Plains Speedway champion. We're going to talk to him about his runner-up finish in the Pass Open 100 at Oxford on Sunday. Get his thoughts. He's in the Oxford 250. It's not a full provisional. It's a little, but at the very least, he doesn't have to worry about if things go bad in qualifying for him on Sunday, August 28th. He'll still make the big race by virtue of his podium finish on Sunday. So we're talking to TJ a little bit about Oxford and Oxford's weekly competitors and what they face when they head to the Oxford 250 against some of the best touring teams in the area. And then after that, definitely stick around. We're going to talk to Nick Hinkley. He's the Pro Stock points leader at Wiscasset Speedway. He won the track's late model championship last year. He won his third feature of the season already on Saturday night, had the engine pulled, as is track protocol. When you win 3 races in a season, they pull your engine to make sure everything's on the up and up. He did pass. So we're gonna talk to him too. I think you'll like that. Nick's come a long way. You don't hear many race car drivers say that the first time they got into a big, late model or pro stock that they were actually afraid. And so he's very, very candid about his thoughts on his racing career, what it's like to race for the team that his dad owns over at Wiscasset Speedway every week. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I know people have other things to do this week with the holiday. Here's TJ Brackett. We caught up with him in the pit area on Sunday after he finished second in the Pass Open 100. All right, so I did not realize, TJ, that it has been 4 years since you won a championship here. I feel like you win it every year here.
Well, we tied last year, but
so you don't count that?
Nah, you don't count that. We lost on the tiebreaker. I can't remember what it was. I think it came down to like third place finishes. So
wow.
And this year we're leading the points right now.
Yeah. So what's it like? I think one of the neat things about Oxford Plains Speedway is, I think after names like the Rowe family, the Brackett family's done a lot of stuff here. I mean, and you and your dad both have championships. That has to be something that someday you're going to look back on.
Yeah. My sister's got championships here. My son has a go-kart championship here. No, this is all we've ever done since I was a little kid, up in the grandstands watching Dad. So I don't know any different. I guess I'm stupid because I really shouldn't just keep blowing every cent I make on this thing, but it's the only thing I know how to do. So, yeah.
I feel like, like when I watch, like after today, when you finish second, and that's the TJ I know. Like you're already beating yourself up. You don't take any time to enjoy anything.
Yeah.
But maybe just kind of take me back quickly through today. You felt like you kind of gave the race away by not trying the outside earlier.
Right. It was third, 10th, and rolled up the outside like easy. It was good, really good. And then I got to the bottom and, it felt good there. Led a bunch of laps. And I just feel like we should have just stayed on the outside because every long race we just went on the outside. We just got too free in and off. And, if I would have sat up there, you don't turn the wheel as much, so you ain't going to get as free. We've been trying to win one of these, even though this is a non-winners race, one of these pass races since I can remember. So to come up this close, you just...
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the last one we finished third here, and we finished second this time. So maybe I ought to sit out until the 250. Maybe we'll win it.
Yeah.
So.
I wonder, like during the weekly racing here, does that outside groove come into play as much?
Yeah. We run the top. I run the top all the time, even the third group a lot of time, because weekly here, the way they start us, where we've already won, I got to start basically at the rear every week, and there's still a lot of good cars that start up front. So you got to go right at the beginning, or they just get so far out there you can't catch them. And that's kind of what's happened the last few weeks. We can only get to 5th, 7th, 4th. But I don't know. So, and the tire was different.
Yep.
So, you're at a disadvantage one week, and you're at an advantage this week. So, there's a lot to it, but I don't know.
If I was to say, kind of grade your car and where it's at right now this summer versus where it's been in the past a month or so before the Oxford 250, how does it stack up?
It's probably the best it's ever been right now. As far as a long distance car, we've always had real fast fire off speed to run Saturday nights, but in the long races, we get to lap 50 and we start going backwards. So I think we've made it to like lap 80 now before we start going backwards. So I'd say we're getting better, but yeah.
There was a stretch there, I feel like it was the early 2000s, where it was like when Gary Drew and Robbins, they had won the 250, and it was like a stretch for weekly guys who were really strong, and it feels like now it's kind of gone back. Although Curtis, was a Beechridge guy who won last week, but...
I run here every week because it's close, and, Tom and Mikey do a great job here. And I keep thinking that if we just run here weekly, we're going to have a shot at winning the 250. But then you see the last, I don't know, like you said, 10, 15 years, no weekly guy has won it. So we've kind of gotten out of our box that we stayed in and actually tried stuff. So
is it just a matter of not having enough 100, 150, 200 lap races under your belt?
Yeah.
Is it that simple?
I don't know. I think so, but I really don't know.
Well, because again, as you know, not telling you, like with the 250, there's so many variables: tires, so many practices, the qualifying, the straight up. So it's not. Even though you know the track inside and out, I guess you could see where it is a completely different race for guys that race here all the time.
And we usually got 70, 80 cars here, and they practice, and it lays down so much rubber. That Sunday, come feature time, it's different than it has been all year.
Yeah.
It's slick, it's hot. It was pretty slick and hot today, but it's usually way different come 250 day.
Slick and hot all day during 250, and then it cools off when the sun goes down.
It cools off, but I don't know. I don't know.
You joked after the race over on the front stretch that if you win the Oxford 250, you're going to retire. Is that really how you feel? Is that really like?
I mean, don't hold me to it.
I won't.
But I feel like at Oxford, what we got left to do is win a tour race, which we've been close, and win the 250. And then, hopefully we can just start, going to some tour races and going to race places that I've always wanted to. Not saying I won't be here every time we're not racing, but, someplace different. But it's just, I just feel like that if we could just do that, we've done everything you can do.
Right.
I mean, we're never going to win 150 races like Mike Rowe. It just doesn't happen nowadays.
Right.
So I guess that would be the whole purpose, and just get everything out of the way and be done.
Do you lose sleep over that race? Do you think about that race like in the winter? Do you think about that race on opening day here, or do you?
That is the only race we think about,
right.
And we had a really fast car in 2017 or 16, I can't remember. And broke a rear end on lap 8. I mean, we were... I felt we had the winning car.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then when the 250 comes and you don't do good in it, you don't win, you're like, I got to wait a whole another year to do it again.
All right. Well, maybe this is your year. Maybe you're right. Maybe taking care of getting a starting spot is all you have to worry about now.
Maybe.
Don't practice as much Friday. That's my advice to you.
Yeah, we're not. No.
Right.
I'm better off to just leave it in the trailer until Sunday morning and then go.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks again to TJ. He makes no bones about the fact that, talking, more specifically talking about himself, is not something he loves to do, but we appreciate him taking a few minutes while they were packing up their equipment and getting the car loaded in the hauler on Sunday to do that. A couple other things. Like, no surprise at all, I don't think. Extra distance races have been his specialty this year, whether they've been at Beech Ridge or they've been on the Pro All-Star Series. Kirk Gary won the Pro Series 125 at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway last weekend. Just another big win for him. He's got a few wins already this year. I know weekly racing is difficult at Beech Ridge with their handicap, and there's a lot of fast cars. It's a really competitive division. Certainly their super late model division is, and Curtis has had to come from the back every week. That's the way it works, and against good cars, it's tough to do. But certainly when you have a race like the 125 down there where they start straight up after qualifying, you can see what he's capable of doing. So congratulations to him. Pro All-Star Series was at tonight, Tuesday night. By the time this goes online, they'll be in the middle of that program probably at Spud Speedway for the Firecracker 200. First time in 8 years they've been there, so certainly we'll keep tabs on what happens up there. Austin Terrio, of course, was running that race Tuesday night. But again, back to one of the things I want to talk about. Kind of, you probably saw it. There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there. TB's press box this week. I'd like to talk about things that fans wonder why this sport suffers at times. Viral video making the rounds, especially on Facebook. From Beech Ridge's today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, Monday night program. They had their Firecracker 50. Basically, it's their NASCAR Wheel and All-American Series program plus some fireworks. It's a special weekday show. Do it every year. Man, we just saw a fight in the pits. Two, fans, family members, friends. I don't know the details. I don't really care. We got it on video, though. A lot of people standing around with cameras and not really getting involved. We saw a pretty wild punch thrown and a young lady get knocked straight to the ground, and just not good. I keep saying it all the time. It's like we wonder why more people don't come out and give short track racing a try, why there aren't new fans in the stands, and attendance can be suffering and has been ever since the economy kind of went downhill. And I can't stress it enough. Stuff like that doesn't help you guys. It doesn't help. It makes it worse. I always use the example of if my wife is on Facebook and I think she spends 75% of her waking hours on Facebook when she's not working, she's going to come across that and she's going to decide, I don't think I want to take my kids to a race on Saturday night. And if we don't get kids to the racetrack, if you don't get young fans, it makes the future really, really, really tough. So please just clean it up. And if you see that stuff, break it up before it starts. Be a bigger person. I know it's fun to have it on Facebook and be the first one to post it and get everybody talking about it, but you can do yourselves a lot of favors by either interceding, put the camera down, intercede. Don't even get involved in that stuff in the first place. It's not worth it. I know the heat gets the better of everybody. It gets the better of me, but come on now. Let's clean it up, people. Anyway, on to better things. As promised, Wiscasset Speedway, pro stock points leader. He's won 3 races already this year. Nick Hinkley. He started out, first time he got in a late model, he was 14 years old after running the teen division. It's about 10 years ago now, I think, if my math is correct. You'd think I would remember. I just talked to him, an hour or so ago. But anyway, good stuff from Nick. Really kind of give this a listen as we get... they get a week off here on their every other week schedule, but always, boy, Nick had him covered the other night. I mean, he really understands how to get track position early while his tires were still fresh, got away from the melees, got out of traffic, got away from being stuck in the outside lane and restarts, which the other night was hot and kind of greasy over there. You didn't really want to be out there unless you had to be, and you didn't want to be out there for long. Nick made really quick work, got to really lead in that race. Led all the way to the checkered flag in that 50-lap feature. So, enough about me. Here's Nick Hinkley on this week's Loose Wheels. So, we have Nick joining us now on the podcast. Nick, thanks for taking a few minutes today to agree to do this.
Well, thank you for having me on. This scorcher out there, that's for sure.
It's sure. I bet you're glad you're not in a race car on a day like today.
Yes, definitely. I feel bad for them guys up the Spud tonight.
Yeah, sure do. Although up there it's probably like 65 degrees and cloudy. I think every time I've been up to the county, it's ice cold and the wind is howling. They should be all right.
Yeah, that is the truth.
So, Saturday night it was Wiscasset. Your third win of the season already. man, you've got to feel like this is about as good a start to the first half of a year as you could have imagined.
It's funny because this week of last year when we run the late models, it was actually this same identical week we had to pull the motor for our third win last year also.
So it's deja vu all over again.
Right. I actually had mentioned that to my father the morning of, because we have one of Ideal Portable Toilets, one of our main sponsors. They like to do the parade, and of course it's always a scramble trying to get everything back together to be able to go in the parade.
Have you surprised yourself at all in terms of I know that you had run the Pro Stock some in the past, kind of part-time, if you will. I wonder if you guys have surprised yourselves at all at how good you've been this year with it.
I mean, obviously we had, pretty high expectations. I mean, but if you were going to tell me I would have won 3 this early, I mean, I probably wouldn't have believed you, But we went all through the car this winter, so we kind of felt pretty confident going in. At least we were apples to apples with the guys rather than, bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah. Would you say that having, a lot of guys will go from a late model to a Pro Stock or a super late model without having had a chance to run it before? How much does the fact that you've run some races in the past, how much does that help? I mean, did it feel different to you this year, or did it feel like, I've done this enough now that it's kind of old hat?
No, I mean, it's definitely, no matter how many times you've done it, just the speed and I mean, we're a full second faster than the late model guys, and I think that was the biggest thing for me. I mean, you're doing a lot of slipping and sliding with the late models, but just the G-force of the extra speed with the Pro Stocks is something that, it takes a while just to get used to how much farther you can drive in and pick the throttle up. Your points are a little different on the track. But, I mean, definitely I would say seat time is a big thing with having that. Luckily last year I run the 150 down there, You kind of find you get into a rhythm as the race goes on that helps you in the future. Yeah.
Do you, is it, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how different is it to drive the two cars? Is it really just the overall speed and where your marks are on the track? Or are there other things that you have to kind of finesse that Pro Stock at times more than you would a late model?
I mean, I have found that, I mean, of course, our late models down there are, they're a little beyond the ACT late model, so it's,
yeah.
You already have a little bit of the, the good brakes and the good, decent shocks, and as far as the downforce package and all that's pretty similar. But,
yeah.
I mean, I guess you can kind of wheel the late models a little bit more. It's almost, with the Pro Stocks, you almost have to slow down to go faster, like a deal, drive what you have for a car and you'll actually pick up time rather than, trying to overdrive it.
Right. So I guess I think I know the answer, but I'll let you tell anyway. So how did you get started racing? What was kind of your first introduction to it? I'm going to guess it sort of starts with your family, but maybe kind of walk me through when you were in diapers helping Dad work on race cars or something.
Yeah, well, I grew up with my father. My father was always around racing. He always had cars, and I was always that young kid, hanging out in the garage with everybody. And this was back when Scott Buck ran for him, and I mean, they had quite a successful career, but they were racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday every weekend. I remember as a kid, I'd wake up at 7 a.m. as they're loading up to head to either 95 or, going down to the track here. It was just kind of part of the whole family deal, And as I got older, my father kind of said, well, I've been spending money my whole life having other people tear up my equipment. I might as well have my son do it. So at that point, we got into they used to have a team division down here, which was, it's kind of similar to the Thunder 4, but it was more or less just bar up. It's actually similar to the Wiscasset down that Beach Ridge used to have.
Yeah.
Where you just put a roll cage in a 4-cylinder and go out and run it. Well, it had been since probably when my father first started out, since he'd never even done anything with that type of car. So we were kind of out to lunch as far as that. So he figured, at least I know what I'm doing with the late models and the pro stock. So he put me in a late model. I think it was like 5 races in for the season.
Mm.
And it's kind of funny. We were talking about it. It must have been the beginning of this year. And I told him, I remember the first time we went to the track and practiced, I was scared to death. I was doing it because he wanted me to do it. And, it was kind of one of them things like, yeah, I should be doing it, but, man, I was scared. I mean, I was only 14 years old at the time, so it really puts the aspect out there for these guys that are really young hopping into pro stocks. I mean, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, I think it all the time. I have a 14-year-old son, and I think I can't even imagine watching him attempt to do that. I can't. It would scare the heck out of me, let alone him. So what year would that have been that you made those first few starts in that car?
That was, I'm pretty sure it was 2008.
Yeah.
Was the year that I started. I want to say the last 5 races was in the late model, and within the third, it was either the third or fourth race, I finished with a third place.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, it was kind of an uplifting, as in for the future there might be potential, to do something.
Yeah. When did you get over that feeling of fear? I mean, was that like a day, a race, or was it just kind of over time as you got more comfortable?
Yeah, it was more. I would say probably. I'd probably say the next year of running a full season. You kind of get comfortable with the speed and all that. That was the biggest thing. You just where you're going from a 4-cylinder. I had a tiny Cavalier at the time, and you're in a complete full-body car where you're strapped in. You only have, your 2 mirrors. You really don't know where you are on the track, especially being that young, that. Yeah. I think that was more the thing. I just really, felt like I didn't know where I was, what was around me. Luckily having a spotter and all that's a big help. But, I'd say that probably the next season of running full-time is when, I at least got comfortable enough to be able to go out and have fun.
Right. Nick, I would say there are still guys that are probably in their late 20s, early 30s that still don't know where they are on the track. I won't ask you to comment on that, but I'm pretty sure we could both point out some guys that might still be going through those growing pains 10 years later. So
I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to name names if you want, but I'm not going to ask you to do that. Would you? What is your goal? Is the goal this year? I assume the goal is to win a championship so that you can say you're a champion in both of those divisions. But beyond that, do you have plans to race anywhere else, or after this year, do you guys have plans to look at the schedule and do things differently, or does it just kind of work for you right now, being a family team and living right in Wiscasset?
I mean, with the guys that I have helping me, and I have a young son, and for now, Wiscasset just really works out for us. Every other week thing, it works out real good. But obviously, we're looking to win the championship and more or less just win the races. That was the thing. Our best season down there has been 5 wins. So it would be ecstatic if we could beat that. But I'm actually looking forward to plan on going to White Mountains for the pass race, which will be my first ever pass race. And we just happened to put in an order for a brand new distance chassis. So that'll probably open up, the thought of possibly doing the 250 or something like that in the future. It's just right now the chassis we have is the 2008, so it's it's a little bit older than what a lot of these guys are running, and
sure.
And I mean, to spend that kind of money, you almost want to make sure you have the top tier equipment to be able to do it.
Sure. What's it like to race with your dad, for your dad? How would you word it? Do you race with your dad or do you race for your dad?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, right. Do you? How much do you enjoy that? How much do you enjoy kind of that chance to do that every couple of weeks?
One thing that a lot of people can say that hang around with us or come to the pit pad throughout the the day at the track and all that, we usually have a lot of fun. It's not, my father's pretty much a stickler as far as, we got to be on our game, whatever. But, when it's time to race, you race. When it's, you got a little downtime, we usually have a good time. And at the end of the day, win, lose, or wreck, or whatever, we're smiling at the end of the day. Obviously you're bummed out if you wreck, but it's racing. It's called racing, not winning,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I will say last year my father was in the hospital, and I brought the post talk down by myself, and I didn't have him on the radio. I had a friend on the radio with me, and that was the first time ever. And that's, just not having that comfort voice that you're used to having all the time was a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's good to see him back around the track and this year, and obviously, obviously you're having a good year. I think I feel like that 5-win season, I feel like you might be able to, if you keep doing what you're doing, you must feel like you've got a shot at least breaking that personal mark this year.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know. You never know. Once you get some of the madness going on and all that, stuff can change in a hurry. So basically just trying to be consistent and be there at the end.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for joining the podcast, and I really appreciate you taking a few minutes. Enjoy your 4th of July, and best of luck the rest of the year.
Well, thank you. Thanks for everything you do for the racing team.
Nick's quickly becoming a favorite of the Loose Wheels podcast. He doesn't say a lot, but what he says is usually pretty good. He's got some really good insight. Always enjoy talking to him. Always enjoy catching up with him. And I think they're going to have their hands full with him over there this year. I think that switch to full time to a pro stock for them has really kind of elevated that team, if you will. And after he won the late model championship last year, this is what he wanted to do. And I think doing this every week or every other week has really helped. Anyway, listen, enjoy your 4th of July. Enjoy the week if you're on vacation. I know a lot of people are. Enjoy the races you get out to. The weather is it's warm, but it's generally fantastic. So make sure you take advantage of it. Don't forget, centralmaine.com/sports for all your auto racing coverage. You can find us on Facebook, Central Maine Sports. You can find me on Twitter at tbarrettgwc. Find out what races we're at, interact as races are going on. Happy to have you along. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you next week on the next episode of Loose Wheels.